Okay, cool. So JP, I'm a big believer in serendipity, and I think we came across each other in our lives at the perfect time.
Likewise.
And when I met you a couple of days ago, I found out you were a vegan, a fellow entrepreneur. You also got your first Muay Thai fight in a long time.
Long time.
So a lot of similarities at the same time. But also I realized that we're both obsessed with self-confidence, potential, and high performance, which are things I love talking about as well. Why is it important to you? And where's that obsession come from?
What a great question to start on, man. I witnessed a lot of suffering growing up. I've just moved to Thailand. Before that, I lived 20 years in the UK. I only went to the UK for one reason. I wanted to create a better life for myself. And I knew that I could go beyond the little pond that I was in and go into a bigger ocean of potential and possibility. And that little pond was Cape Town, South Africa, where I grew up. Like I mentioned, I had a lot of suffering in my life. My father tried to commit suicide 7 times. 8th time, he was successful. We moved around 8 times. I went to like 8 different schools. And because of the lack of certainty, which you get from fitness, which was the first gift in my life that I found when I was 7, but because of the lack of certainty, I became a shy, scared, timid little boy. And I just was an easy target for bullies. So I got bullied throughout my school career. I hated school every single year of it. The only constant wasn't like who I want to be in my life or how well do I want in school. The only constant in my school life was how many years are left until I'm out of this prison. And when I left school, I just knew that as a result of all of that suffering, as a result of seeing my father destroy his life, abuse my mother, and all the suffering that I saw, I just knew that I don't want that in my life. I want better. And, thankful for my environment, I could see better around me. I got into sport and I saw heroes achieving extraordinary things in fitness and in rugby and in cycling. And I started watching the Tour de France when I was 13 and seeing these guys that just ride bicycles and they're inspiring people all around the world. I got to meet pro cyclists when they came to our country or our city. And my president was Nelson Mandela. I mean, he was my first ever hero and probably my greatest hero. So I knew both sides of life, suffering and freedom, as in personal freedom, which is living a life that is true to you, living in your values, living your full potential. And I just knew, because I had at 10 years old reached the lowest of the low with my family, my mom sitting us down saying you might have to go live with someone else, as in foster care. My mom selling chocolates door to door. I started washing windows at 10 years old and I worked from 10 all the way till I was 18. And because I chose to work at an early age, because I chose to get into fitness, I knew that my life was my choice. So I could either choose to have what I saw around me in my immediate environment, or I could choose to have a life that I was inspired by people in life, in fitness, in business, in leadership, like Nelson Mandela. And I just chose the latter. And, oh man, I got goosebumps. I don't know what it was. I just knew that it was my choice. And it became an obsession for me, like to just live the best life that I can possibly live. And it wasn't a matter of, I hope I can make it. It wasn't a matter of, maybe I'll be lucky enough if I try the right thing. I just knew it's a matter of how and when, and that's what started me on my journey of self-improvement.
And how did you end up in the UK?
So South Africa has gone through so many changes over the years, and it really depends on when you matriculated or when you graduated from high school, what you would do with your life. To give an example, when I graduated high school, everyone that could get out of the country left. 2 years later, my brother graduated and half of his friends left, half of his friends didn't. My youngest brother, when he finished school, almost none of his friends left. Now, they weren't the same friends, obviously, but this just shows you how quickly the country was changing and people were accepting that actually, the country's not going to die and everyone's not going to be killed and all these things, because obviously it was the end of apartheid and many things changed in the country. So my parents had a fear, but like, you've got to get out, you've got to get out. And I knew that my grandfather, having fought in World War II, being British, I knew I could get an ancestral visa.
Okay.
And that was my key to a greater life. Now, a part of me still wishes I lived in South Africa, because it is one of the greatest places in the world, especially my city, Cape Town. But I'm very grateful that I was able to do that. And I was exposed to more greatness, more potential, more opportunity, like I mentioned before. And yeah, that's how I got out. I'd never been on a plane in my life. I was 20 years old when I left. I'd never been on any size airplane. I didn't have any money. I'd never left my country. And I got on a Boeing 747 on my own with 20 quid in my pocket because I had a job waiting for me in Weybridge, Surrey, just outside London, where you worked in a hotel, so your room and your food was waiting for you. All I had to do was get to the hotel, and my mom took a loan to get me to that hotel. And that's my life in the UK started.
Wow. Well, I can attest to the fact Cape Town is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Have you been?
We went to South Africa. We spent a month in South Africa, November, just gone. We went to Johannesburg, Kruger, and then we spent 3 weeks in Cape Town. And me and my wife said it's one of the best, it's probably the best trip we've ever done together.
Man, I'm so happy.
Just adds another level.
Which is another thing that we connect on, man. So many things. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed my city, man. And I said to my friend the other day, he's a very well-known speaker in the UK. His name's Ryan Pinnock, speaker, trainer, coach. And both of us were Zooming the other day, just catching up on Zoom. And we were like, man, both of our lives are amazing, but we feel this deep disconnection to our country, and that's hopefully that's something that I change in the future.
Amazing. So where did your journey start off in the UK? You know, you've had a very difficult childhood. You come to London, come to the UK with nothing. What were your 20s like, and how did you respond to going from suffering all around you to effectively what's probably freedom all around you?
Yeah. And there's still chaos in freedom, but what allows you to get through the chaos is knowing that you're living in your freedom, and it inspires you to keep going, keep pushing through, keep being persistent, and keep being patient. And you know, I didn't have the worst life in the world, just to be clear. I had a lot of great moments in my life. You know, once a year we went on a camping trip. Okay, it was only once a year that we went on holiday, but it was a great time. So I had a lot of good things in my life, and I've got to be respectful of everyone else in South Africa that really suffers, way more than I've ever suffered in my life. But suffering existed in my life throughout my childhood. And when I got to the UK, you know, there's a saying, we don't know what we don't know. And I've touched something onto the end of that. We don't know what we don't know until we know it. And I got to the UK, I'd had no guidance, no coaching, no plan. I just had to figure it out on my own, which we know, if you're related to fitness, is not a clever way. It's not intelligent, figuring out on your own. But I didn't know what I didn't know. So I just tried to figure out, what does success look like? And because I was missing so much, missing money, missing attention, missing acceptance, just from even my friends sometimes would tease me and pick on me, even beat me up one time. Because I was missing a lot, I thought the answer to success was consuming. The more I can get, the more successful I'll be. So I went from working in a hotel to working in a bar because it was most social. I could have more attention on me. I could have more friends, have more parties. Then I got into bar management. I worked in a cocktail bar in New Oxford Street. But when I was in Cape Town, I started DJing, because this is a whole nother story and it will take a long time to get into, but I did sport from the age of 7 until 18. At 18, 19 years old, I got invited to a club, to a nightclub called Adrenaline. You can only imagine with the name Adrenaline, what kind of stuff goes on in there. And it did go on in there. And I went to this club called Adrenaline. I loved the music. The only other thing I had in my life that made me feel good was fitness. But now I was like, man, I'm in music, and music really makes me feel good. So I took this with me to the UK, and I just started DJing and trying out. And eventually I was like, man, I don't want to be a bar manager. I don't want to have my own bar. Maybe I could be a DJ, because I like DJing. So I asked my friend, who was the manager of the bar, or the owner of the bar, can I start DJing on Tuesday nights? And basically it was DJing for no one. There's no one in the bar on a Tuesday in central London. And Tuesday became Wednesday, Wednesday became Thursday. And I was chasing my view of success, which is get more, get more, get more. By the age of 23, I was DJing in Riga, Latvia. On New Year's Eve, I got flown to Riga, got picked up by a driver, bored JP waiting for me at the airport, dropped off at the Radisson Hotel in Riga, overlooking the river, and I was headlining for a club in Riga called Nautilus, which I was told was the #1 club, 2,500 people, and I had achieved my goal, quote unquote, for the people not on video. But the next morning, I felt more miserable than I'd ever felt in my entire life, because what I had consumed was everyone's attention, significance, feeling significant, feeling like a rock star, and I was consuming alcohol and drugs and cigarettes. And I'm not one to tell someone how to live their life. I've partied throughout my life. Some of my own clients party that have multi-million-pound businesses. But when you're doing it all the time, it's not good. It's not healthy. And I was doing it all the time, 3-4 nights a week. I was out till 7-8 a.m. in the morning, DJing and then partying afterwards, sleeping during the day. And at one point, New Year's Eve, if you go back to the UK, it's just nighttime most of the time. So I was not even seeing daylight.
Wow.
And after that gig, where I should have felt like, wow, I'm super successful, when I got back to the hotel room, when I couldn't consume attention, acceptance, significance, drugs, alcohol, it was all finished, I felt empty and low, like lower than snake shit. Like I just felt like, how can this be my life? And then I remembered what I shared with you before. I knew that everything in my life was my choice. So I pressed the reset button again on my life, like I've pressed many, many times. Like I pressed when I went to the UK, like I pressed when I moved to Thailand this year. Pushed the reset button on my life. I went back to England, gave away all my DJ stuff. So it was this like 13-year-old's dream coming true. He came with his father and I gave him my Technics 1210s, boxes of records. I said, take it, I'm done. And he was just like, oh my God. Wow. And I just knew I needed to change my life. If I can figure out how to get my life wrong, I can figure out how to get my life right. And like I did coming to the UK, I figured it out on my own. So I spoke to a friend of mine that happened to be a personal trainer at a gym called Gymbox. And I didn't know he was a trainer, but he was also a coach. I had no idea what a coach was. But I said, bro, I think I'm depressed. I don't know what depressed is, but I just don't feel happy. I don't feel happy with my life. And he said, sit with me. Long story made very short. Over a few sessions, he said, trust me, I'm getting into coaching. I'd love to help you. He was super passionate about what he was doing. And essentially he said 4 things. 1, change your environment. Like your environment is going to dictate how you perform, how you think, how you feel. He said, what do you love doing? Number 2. I said, well, music, but that's not worked out for me. He said, what else do you love? I said, the only thing I've ever been obsessed about in my life is fitness. He said, get into fitness. I got a job at Gymbox. How weird is this? I went for the interview at Gymbox, and this is why everything in life happens for a reason, or at least I believe that. Went for the interview. The owner came and said, or the main owner, as in the main shareholder, came and said, what the hell, this guy's no sales experience, no gym experience, he's a bloody DJ. And he was quite sarcastic the way he was. Richard Hilton, I'm very grateful for my time at Gymbox. It was only just how he was in the beginning. And the other owner, David Cooper, frequented one of the bars that I DJ'd in. And he was like, hire him. He's like, this guy's energy is fantastic. He's exactly what we need in the gym. And anyway, I became the #1 sales person in the gym. Anyway, so going back to what my friend shared, change your environment. What do you love? He said, change your habits. What we do every day is what we become. So I just started every day doing different things, getting up early, going to the gym, drinking more water, eating more healthily. And literally over a few days, I was a different person. And the 4th thing he said, everyone needs a mentor. And he told me, write down this name. And the name he gave me was Anthony Robbins. Everyone knows him now as Tony Robbins. And I had no idea who this guy was, no idea what he did, but I watched his videos like my life depended on it. And I just listened to everything he said about standards, habits, belief, language. And I became my first ever client. And I've been coaching ever since. After 2 years of just literally wanting to save my life at the bottom, continue to change my life at the top. And I was just alive. I was alive, awake. I knew that all I had to do was keep studying. As long as I keep raising my awareness, I can keep changing, because nothing changes without awareness. And then at 25 years old, I was told that, man, you're the highest performing salesperson in Gymbox. The next club we open, we're going to make you GM. So now I'm like, almost went to foster care, 10 years old, living in South Africa, and I'm going to be 25, 26, being a GM of the flagship store bank, Gymbox Bank, and I'm probably going to be on a salary of 35,000 plus bonus or something. And nothing about that excited me. And I just knew that this is not for me. And I was like, wow, now I feel so confident. I'm tapped into my full potential at this level of awareness. Why do I not get excited about that? Well, because all the tools that I had learned through my habits and my self-work that I'd been doing, I knew that I can do whatever I want. So I thought, okay, if I can go from where I was to where I am now, I just want to show other people how to do that. And I was walking, do you know Gymbox Holborn?
Yeah.
Do you know where the office is? By the strength room?
Yeah.
So if you go like straight from downstairs, you got the strength room on your left, and there's a little office there. Coming out of the office, there's the mirror on the wall with the, what do they call it, the cable machines. I was walking past the mirror, away from the office, feeling super smug that I just got told this or given this praise. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to, number one, study how to live your full potential. And when I figure out something that works, I'm going to share it with people. I'm going to make them my career. And I've never done anything else for even a second.
That's how you got into high performance. Now, you've worked with many high performers and high achievers. In fact, you only work with high performers, high achievers, leaders, executives, people at the top of their game, and you're trying to take them to the next level. What's the most common struggle you see in these people who are extremely successful in their careers, but they're still coming to you? What is the big struggle in their head?
The main thing is, and going back to what happened with me, it was they chased success rather than happiness. Or success and what it looks like on the outside rather than what fulfillment feels like on the inside. My personal success comes from doing what I love. And, you know, life is a journey, and like at any journey, you have ups and downs and peaks and valleys. But when you know you are happy, you already feel successful. But when you say that I'll be happy when I'm successful, you keep putting your happiness in front of you, and therefore your happiness keeps being in front of you. And even when you achieve everything that you want, the Bentley, the Maserati, the business, the 10-figure bank balance, you get there and your happiness eludes you. It runs away from you because you've conditioned yourself over years to have the program that I'm chasing happiness. And if you believe in any way that your happiness is in front of you, your brain is a computer that's writing a program or rewriting a program every single day. So when you get to that point, you will feel miserable. And when you feel miserable, you feel lost, you feel stuck, you feel frustrated, and then you feel overwhelmed, you feel tired. A lot of people think they're tired because they're overworked. No, they're tired because they're not living a life that's true to themselves. They're tired because their life and the things that they do in their life don't give them energy. They take their energy away. So in short, my clients come to me successful, but not happy or not fulfilled. They know they can play a better game in a game, or they know they can play a bigger game on the external, and I help them achieve that game. And you know, in my group setting, I do group coaching or mastermind where I help people with goal setting, clarity on their goals, getting clarity, courage to move towards their goals, compassion for themselves to believe that they actually deserve to live a life that is in alignment with their goals and their values. And then I've created a community that's like-minded people together doing the same, living in their happiness at the same time as chasing more things that make them happy, or fulfilling more things and creating more things that make them happy. But then my private clients, I've never really marketed my high performance coaching. I might do the odd video or something and mention it, but my private clients for years have come through referral and word of mouth. Because my clients, let's call them CEOs, right? It can be CEOs, people that want to be CEOs, COOs, CFOs, C-suite, leadership. These people at that level, everyone looks up to them and even says whatever they want to say, but no one challenges them. And my clients know, and if they watch this, they'll be nodding their heads right now. I don't tell them what they want to hear, I'll tell them the truth. Even I'll say, I said to one of my clients, you're very successful. Clearly, this is before he was a client, in just our prospect call, a video exchange. I said, clearly you're very successful. But I said, no one should be as fat as you.
Wow.
That's not natural. And he put down the phone. He still jokes about this years later. He said, how dare this motherfucker talk to me like that? Da, da, da. And when he cooled down, he said, you know what? He's right. No one's willing to tell me the truth because I'm the head honcho. I'm the boss. And he said, because you were willing to tell me that was the exact reason why I knew I needed to work with you. So in short, that's the situation that they're in. They look great on the outside, but like an apple with a rotten core, they're falling to pieces on the inside. They're spiritually broken. They don't have internal wealth, or they lack internal wealth, and they know they can feel wealthier. They know they can feel healthier, they know they can feel happier.
How do you begin to rewrite the program? You gave a good analogy around the computer being hardwired. How do you start rewriting that? Because when you're chasing financial external success, and you try and rewrite that 10, 20, 30 years later, it's almost like programmed anxiety.
Yeah, man.
Right? You've just got anxiety. You're thriving off adrenaline and anxiety your whole life. How do you begin to rewrite that?
And you even just think this is how life is. If you're going to be successful, you have to live like this. You have to shake. You have to be anxious. You have to be stressed. You have to have lack of sleep. You have to take, 6 cups of coffee a day. Great question. First of all, I want to give credit to the work that I do and other coaches do, specifically performance coaches. There's many, many, many things to do.
Of course.
A few of them I've already mentioned. But the number one thing I know that you need to do, without this you will not change, is you need to have the confidence to change. If you don't believe you can change, you will not change, because our life is just a reflection of our beliefs. So in that self-confidence, the number one thing that gives us self-confidence is clarity. You enjoy Muay Thai, right? When you're doing Muay Thai, let's say you've done some sparring, obviously before, you're fighting soon. When you can clearly see the opponent, you can anticipate the next move, the lighting's good in the ring, how do you feel?
Amazing. You feel
Amazing.
unbeatable. Yeah.
You feel unbeatable, you feel confident. Now imagine this, the opponent's too fast. You can't anticipate his every move. Maybe it's quite dark in the ring. You've got some sweat in your eye, how do you feel? Scared. So what we do when we're scared is we retreat and we go back to our comfort zone. Using the metaphor of boxing, you go back to your corner. And this is what we do in life when we don't have clarity. When you have clarity of super clear values and what you choose to stand for in your life, confidence up. You don't know what you stand for, confidence down. Why? Because now maybe you stand for what everyone else says you should stand for, like maybe your parents or your culture, or maybe you stand for what you think you should stand for because of what the media says you should stand for. Or maybe you just stand for what everyone else stands for because you don't know what you want to do with your life. So you know what? I'll do what he says. Or, JP seems to be living a good life. Let me do what JP does, right? This will lead you down the wrong path. So having clear values, having a clear and compelling vision for your life and your business creates clarity. When you have clarity of your vision, confidence up. No vision for your life, confidence down. You'll keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, which Einstein says is insanity. Next thing is you've got to have your mission, which we spoke about in the podcast that we did earlier. You've got to know, what is my mission for my life? How am I going from living in my values to, in my values, achieving my vision? You've got to have clarity on that. And it might be a business plan. It might be a personal goal plan. It might be a 4-step program, a 12-step program, a 12-week body transformation. But what is the mission that you're on? What is the vehicle that you're choosing to live in, like RNT Fitness? That's a vehicle, right? It's taken you in your values of fitness and tapping into your full potential and peak performance towards the vision, which is inspire people to fill themselves up and then to do something with that, to achieve what they didn't think they could achieve before. So you've got to have that mission. Clear on what you're doing and how you're doing it, confidence goes up. Not clear, confidence goes down. You'll just do what you think you should do, or you'll do what everyone else tells you to do, including your boss or your peers or your colleagues, etc., or your friends even, and your family. And then lastly, what gives you confidence and clarity within that confidence is purpose. You've got to know why you're doing it, because life isn't all hunky-dory. It's not all fluffy fluff. It's not all namaste. Sometimes shit gets hard. I hope it's okay to use that word. But sometimes life gets tough. And if we use boxing as an analogy again, or martial arts, I'm a vegan martial artist. I'm a vegan athlete. And sometimes through my training, because I give it all in training, I'm the, what we discussed before off camera, which is that one rep more. And I'll ask myself, have I got more? Have I got more? Have I got more? And then what'll happen is I'll get to a point where there's nothing left in me. And my trainer will go, come on, because he knows I'm training for a fight. And then straight away I tap into my purpose. And it's always the same thing. You are fighting for all the animals that can't fight for themselves. And something happens in me and I'm just, bah, 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 second wind. And my trainer's like, what the hell? And I just go, let's go. And nothing changed. Yeah. The same workout, same day, same time, same nutrition. I just tapped into my why. And in a bigger picture, when you're going through, a downturn in the economy, when you're getting through COVID, when maybe you've lost your business, you've got to remember your why. Why gives you clarity, and clarity gives you confidence. So that is the first big step. But that is the first step. If you want to change, you've got to have the confidence to believe that you can.
So JP, the vision, values, mission, and purpose.
Yeah.
Someone listening might be saying, right, that's great. What is the question they need to ask themselves to help define them in a very short, succinct way? Because that's effectively your work.
Yeah. Okay.
What are some 4 questions they can ask?
Okay, 4 questions. For values, number 1, what do I stand for? What's absolutely non-negotiable? It's the same question that you're going to journal on. I'm just changing the language around the question. What do I stand for? What's absolutely non-negotiable in my life? What would I not delegate even if I could, even if I had all the resources to delegate? What's more important to me than anything else? It's always in my awareness. For example, what kind of stuff am I watching? What kind of stuff do I listen to? If you're always listening to like the Diary of a CEO podcast, growth is probably one of your highest values, or maybe entrepreneurship, for example. So what is that thing that you stand for? Stand in that. A happy life is when you can say every day I live 10 out of 10 in my values. A miserable life is when you know what you value and you have none of those things filled. You have none of those buckets filled. It's that simple. It's not easy because that's, otherwise everyone would be walking around or even levitating down the street. But it's simple to understand. What do I stand for? What have been the patterns in your life? What are the things in your life that have always showed up? And every time they show up, you're like, I love this so much. Go do more of that because that'll bring you more happiness, and that happiness will give you confidence. On vision, one of my mentors once said to me, how do you want this all to end? That's a great question for vision. One of my other mentors or teachers said, what do you want the dash between on your gravestone, the dash between your birthday and your death date to stand for? That's a vision. That's part of your legacy. Another way to look at it is, if you were the writer of your own script or your own movie, or you're writing or the author of your own life book, what would be in that story? That's part of the vision. If you were a painter, take a blank canvas. If you were to draw your best life, what would you draw on the canvas? That's your vision. The next thing is the mission is, you look at what are you good at. There's a Japanese exercise called ikigai, where it's a combination of 4 things. You go, what am I good at? What can I get paid for? What am I passionate about? And what does the world need? And when you find a similarity or a connection between all 4 of those, that can be your mission. Yeah. So my ikigai right now, and for the last few words, has been the word inspire. So that's my mission, inspire. Whether it's through being a martial artist, whether it's through producing content, or whether coaching or doing podcasts, my mission is inspire. If I don't inspire today, whether it's inspire myself to go and do this hardcore workout or run up the mountain, or inspire other people, I did not live in my mission. So it's use Ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, or just ask yourself, find an intersection in your life. What am I really good at? And what do I love? And go do that. If that makes sense. Like, what am I really good at? Training, fitness, whatever. And what do I love? I love fitness. So there's an intersection there. There's a connection. So find that intersection. Shame, my dog keeps trying to want to come inside. So another way to work out your mission would be just, what do I love?
Yeah.
What do I love? When I was 24 years old, I was my first client. I wasn't coaching yet, but because I had found so much joy and happiness and personal inner success from doing what I love, one of my first ever tattoos was across my chest, which is do what you love and love what you do. And it sounds fluffy, and some people will say, oh, that's not the truth. But the people that I aspire to be like, they all agree with that. And the people that I like to listen to on YouTube, because my life is about me and what I want, not what other people say or their opinions, they all say you have to love it, you have to love it, you have to love it, you have to love it. So in terms of your mission, look at your values, what you stand for, look at your vision, how you want it all to end, and then choose a mission that's in alignment with those things. Because then you will have happiness in two areas: happiness in your life now, and happiness with where your life is heading. And then the last one, purpose, is just why. Why are you doing it? And there's an exercise in personal development called 5 Whys Deep or 7 Whys Deep, where you just ask why, and then whatever comes up, say, why do you want that? And whatever comes up, say, well, why do you want that? And go deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is a really powerful exercise, because usually when we answer something, we come from a safe zone, or we come from our conscious mind. It's the first thing that comes to mind. But when you ask someone, why do you want that? And then why do you want that? And then why do you want that? You have to go deep within yourself. And it can be the longest journey, but the most rewarding journey, going from your head to your heart. And when you go deeper, 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 you go from your head to your heart. And you see people, when you say, why do you do what you do? They say, oh, because da, 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 da. And then you ask why again. And on the fourth or fifth why, they take a real deep breath, or you see a tear in their eye, because now they're really tapping into the real reason why they did it. So for example, if you ask me why I do what I do, the first answer would be, it's still the correct answer, but it's superficial, right? It's on the surface. It's, I want to inspire people to live their best life. But if you ask me why, and go all the way down, I'll tell you, I've seen the ultimate version of suffering. I've seen my father, after trying to commit suicide many times, and knowing that he didn't have to go down that route, he just didn't know what he didn't know, and he lacked awareness. If the awareness is the first step to changing our life, my life's responsibility is to make people more aware, and I have to do that by first making myself more aware. I have to keep raising my own awareness. I have to become a Buddhist monk. I have to do 3 marathons in 24 hours. I have to sit down and have conversations with people like you. Even though I'm already a vegan, already an athlete, I want to learn more, because I can't help people change and get better until I change and I get better. And that all happens from awareness. So you can see the different answer. The first one versus the second one.
I was actually going to ask you, how's your father's suicide impacted you on a day-to-day basis now? And how does it continue to drive you? Is it something you reflect on a lot?
Man, such a good answer. First of all, I was really angry with my father for a long time. And then one day I realized that through my own spiritual work, that no one is born a bad person. Everyone does what they do for a reason. And that I need to understand rather than judge. When I first started studying from monks, they would teach us, I got taught by monks that our thoughts cannot create suffering. It's only when we judge our thoughts that we create suffering. So you can observe everything in the world. Someone can observe me right now, but it's their choice to judge. So why people judge is because they lack understanding. And because we're survival creatures, if we don't understand something, we'll create an understanding for it, which is, this vegan guy is an asshole, because they don't understand me. Does that make sense? So we have to understand everything to survive. We need to know, is this a threat or not? But if you don't understand something that you see, like there's a tree outside, I can understand that's a tree. But if it's a weird shape and I don't know, I have to create some kind of understanding for it. And I had judged my father because I didn't understand my father. So I went deeper in understanding my father, and I asked my mother more and more and more about my father, until one day my mother called me, only in the last 5 years. And my father took his life when I was 13. I kept asking more and more and more. I needed to understand more. I needed to stop judging, because that creates suffering for him, for me, for both of us. And one day my mother called me and said, I feel like I need to tell you something. Your father, when his mom got remarried and she wanted to move to England, and I think my father's father was in prison. My mother's never said it, but he was never there. My mother said, when my father was 5 years old and his brother was, I think, 1 or 2 years younger, their own mother wanting to move to another country, but my father's father not letting them leave, he said, you can't take my children. She went to the UK with her new husband and put her real children in an orphanage. And my father could never feel good enough. How can you feel good enough? And this is like this emotion coming up is for every kid that this has happened to. Being abandoned by your own by your own parents is probably one of the worst things that can ever happen to a human being, because every human being wants to be loved, number one, and to feel enough, number one. And how can you do that when the people that brought you into this world chose to get rid of you? And not only that, but between the ages of 4 and 7, we create our rules for life. Because when you're born, you don't have any rules. So you create your rules as you go along. So my father's rule for life became, I am not worthy. And that pattern ran throughout his entire life. And unfortunately, even though they say it was heart attack, not everyone believes it, but his brother also took his own life. Definitely tried to before the quote unquote heart attack. So both of them got left in an orphanage, and both of them took their own life. And when I found this out, bro, I was living in Farnham at the time, 5-6 years ago. My mother told me, I just lay on the floor and I just cried. And I cried and cried. And I just wanted to fucking hold my father. And from that day, I was already doing good shit in the world, but I still had this anger towards my dad, you know, oh fuck, you left me, da, da, da. From that day, I choose to look up, right, wherever he is. I'm not religious. And it just put a motivational driver in me that's never existed. And I just said, watch what I do. You think your life was a failure? Fucking watch what I do, and I'll show you. I just thought, I'm going to show you that your life was a fucking great success, because everything I do in my life, every heart I touch, every life I impact, was because of him. Yeah, and these are tears of grace, man. These are tears of grace. Thank you, brother.
It's inspiring.
Because, yeah, it's been tough, you know. It's been easy to settle in my life. I could have been a trainer still. I could have done many things still. The boot camp, this, that. I could have still been married. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone in my life, you know. I only have respect. Everyone came in my life for a reason. I have love and respect for everyone that's ever been in my life, clients, friends, family, partners. I wish health, wealth, health, and happiness. But I'm not here to settle. I'm not here to settle, you know. I'm here to share a message that you don't have to suffer, number one. And number two, you can have everything that you want to be. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thanks for being so candid and open about your story.
Oh, I've never lost it like that. I think it's because I'm in my home in Thailand. Like, my heart is more open, but that was powerful for me. That was great.
Where can people find out more about what you do?
Just go to my website, JPDV Performance, my initials, jpdvperformance.com. And if you know what, there's been so many things in my life, my social media, the hundreds of talks that I've given over the years. I've been on many people's podcasts. I had this crazy accident that changed my life forever.
We didn't even touch on that.
We didn't even touch on that, you know. You can type in Jean-Pierre De Villiers accident. You can type in Jean-Pierre De Villiers and you'll find, you know, Jean-Pierre De Villiers talks. Even just, I mean, sometimes I've been interviewed on a podcast just about how I forgave the driver and how this inspired like thousands of people, the story of forgiveness. You can type in Jean-Pierre De Villiers forgives driver and you can see a whole thing on that. But just type my name into Google. And it sounds egoic or even arrogant, but it's the easiest thing to do. Or go to my website, which is the most up-to-date thing in my life.
To finish up, what's the one thing that you're working on most on yourself right now?
Stepping fully into my truth. For a long time, I got to 70%, 80%, 90%. But there's a saying, you can't ignore your own awareness. And every day I wake up and I cannot ignore the fact that I'm just getting started. Like, there's so much more for me to do. There's so much more for me to give. There's so much better ways for me to serve. And this accident, or not accident, this collision that woke me up. You know, I got told by the doctors, I barely survived. Even in intensive care, I was in intensive care for 2 weeks. When I eventually came out and everyone told me what had happened to me, because I have full amnesia, I don't remember any of it. The doctor said, I don't know how you're alive. I don't know how you're alive. And I know why I'm alive. It's because of this message that I've been sharing today, or the messages that I've been sharing. And I'm grateful for death, because being on my death's doorstep, being on death's doorstep, being faced with my own mortality, it woke me up to the truth, which is this body is so temporary. So one, optimize your body, and then just do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want, because you're going to die. You're going to be born and you're going to die. Whatever you do in that gap, in that space, is up to you. Screw everyone else, because you're still going to die. And at the end of the day, everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to expire at some point. And beyond that expiration date, in the next life that they had, they're not going to care about the life that you had now. So just live your life, and with urgency. Because one day, like myself, cycling from Land's End, from John O'Groats to Land's End, I have a connection to Land's End, cycling from John O'Groats to Land's End, never making it there, at 37 years old, if one little thing was different, my bicycle was in 20 pieces, the windscreen was broken from my helmet, if one little thing was different, I would not exist. You would never have met me. And so not only can your life be over sooner than you think, it can be over before you even know it. Because I have amnesia, I would not have remembered that I died. My life would have looked like this. One day I was cycling, raising money for charity, and then JP doesn't exist. And that just plays in my head all the time. And some people can say that it's not healthy, but it's very healthy for me, because I've taken more action in alignment with my truth and my potential now than I've ever taken in my life, because I know I'm gonna die. So what am I gonna do? Am I gonna live slowly, or am I gonna live fully before that day comes? And honestly, I can tell you now, whether people think I'm lying or not, I do not care. If I died tomorrow, I will be a very happy man, because I know that I'm not compromising in any area of my life. I've probably pissed people off. I've probably made people judge me. People wonder why I moved to Thailand, or why I get divorced when it looked good, or why I've done this or why I've done that. I don't care. I don't care. If I die tomorrow, I'm happy. And actually, I've never shared this before. Last month, I was thinking of, because I drive a 650 cc racing bike, because I do Muay Thai, because I do crazy challenges, I'm fully aware I might have a heart attack or be in an accident one day. Last month, I even thought of writing a letter and just telling people that I love where that letter is. And that letter will say something like this: please do not be sad. I have lived a great life. And the whole letter will be on, don't be sad, don't be sad, don't be sad. Celebrate my life, because I've had a great, great, great life. And that's because I live my life. And I live it fully, without any compromise whatsoever.
Amazing. Well, if you've listened to this episode and you enjoyed Jean-Pierre's story and his inspirational words, then please do share it with your family and friends. But more so, take action on everything you've said here. We'll put all the links and the resources, and also books that you haven't mentioned. You've got
four books. I've enjoyed talking to you so much. Like, I've got so much more energy. I've not even looked at the video for the video platform that we're using first. But bro, I've really enjoyed it. Once again, type my name into Amazon. You'll find some of my books. But bro, great questions. You're a great guy. I love what you're about, whether it's fitness or vegan or full potential or family. Yeah, man, just keep doing what you do. I'll follow you.
When I said Land's End, I decided I was going to turn vegan in Land's End. You smiled at that, and I was like, why Land's End? Now it makes sense.
I thought I'll tell him later. I'll tell him later. So actually, 2 years after my accident, I got knocked off on going down like a mountain. I went back to the accident site, and I had locals show me the exact place where my body was lying. I did a little meditation, got on my bike, and I rode on my own to Land's End over 2 days, like 70 or 80 miles a day, because I wanted that closure. I didn't want to live my life thinking, what if, or why didn't I go back and finish that? And yeah, I don't want to get to the end of my life thinking, what if? And I just thought, what if I never go back and finish that? And I just couldn't live with that. That's the worst
thing to have in your mind.
No, I had to finish it. I had to finish it. And once again, it was published in the paper. Oh my God, a guy that almost gets killed goes back to where he was lying with his legs wrapped around his body and his arm backwards, and he gets back on his bike and he finished it with a backpack, no support, nothing. Just got back on my bike. And literally I did that. But also that's a great metaphor for life. Get back on your bike.
Amazing.
Thanks, bro. Thank you so much.